Hello and welcome to the video on Lesson 7A in Unit 1 of Math 7. Today we are finding percents and finding numbers. So today students will be able to find the percent, the part, or the whole given a probability situation. Students will be able to discuss possible ways of breaking down percent problems into an equation. And this is important for real-world examples like probability problems. So anytime you're trying to figure out the percent of a number or what number is a certain percent of something else, we can use this process. So as we go through translating here, I want you to look at a few different words that you're going to see show up. So for example, anytime you see the word of, half of, percent of means multiply. So please write down that of means multiply, and you might want to highlight that. Of means multiply. Now I will generally use the little dot to mean multiply, but sometimes I'll just use parentheses and numbers next to each other. The next word you're going to want to write down is is. So is means equals. Is means equals. So if we see is, we'll write the equal sign. Up next here we have what number. So if we're looking for a number, I'm going to have you underline what number, and we're going to place that with an X. X means we don't know the number yet, we're just holding a spot for it. And if it says what percent, I'm also going to underline that one. We know percents are out of 100. So for example, if it said 60%, it would be 60 over 100. All right, so those are some key things that we're going to be translating today, and it's just a straight translation. So for example, number 1, what number is 15% of 40? What number is 50% of 40? So we underline what number. That's going to be our X. That's what we don't know. What number is means equals. Now 15% is generally written as a decimal. So remember, for decimals, we're going to move that decimal back twice, and that would be written as 0.15 or 0.15. So far, what number is 15% of 40? So I can either write this as parenthesis 40 to show multiplication, just right next to each other, or I can use the dot, x equals 0.15 times 40 with the little dot. And in this example, that's all we're doing. We're not going to go any farther. But you know, we could do that multiplication to figure out the number. Let's go on, though, to number 2. Number 2, 27 is 18% of what number? So we write down 27 because 27 is just 27. 27 is means equals. 18% means 0.18 from moving the decimal twice. It's hundredths, remember? Of means multiply. What number? That's what we don't know, so we're going to hold that spot with an X. So I could either write, right here, 27 equals 0.18 times X, like that, or we could write it just next to each other this way, where there is no dot. Since that one's a variable, when it has a number attached to it, it already means multiplication. So that one actually doesn't need the parentheses or the dot. Just next to each other is fine. All right, let's try number 3 together. What percent of 60 is 52? Well, let's think. What percent? So since that one says percent, and we know percents are out of 100, I would write that as x over 100, right? What percent of means multiply of 60 times 60 is means equals and 52. So that's how we would translate that. X over 100 times 60 equals 52. And as you can see, I just wrote it the same way as what I had covered up. X over 100, because it's what percent, times 60 equals 52. And we know that that would mean we'd be able to divide there. All right, so on to the next one. What I want you to do is circle number 4 and highlight number 4, because I want you to try that one on your own. So number 4 is one of them that I want you to try on your own. Now you could either pause the video right now and try it, or you can try it at the end, but that's one of them that I'll be checking before I'll let you go on to My Open Math. So try that one, please. 14 is what percent of 15? If you'd like to, go ahead and pause the video now, try it out. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. On to the back. Okay, now in the back, we see problems that are exactly the same, but this time we're actually going to work them out. We're going to do the math. So this time it says 72 is what percent of 30? So we use these words. 72 is just 72. Is means equals. What percent means x over 100, right? What percent? Let me turn on a light there for us. Let's see if that makes that better. 72 is what percent of 30? All right, so that's how we would do the straight translation, and now we can work out some math. Now, because this is being multiplied, I can put this 30 over 1, and I know that I can put all of those together up top. So let's write that down. 72 equals x times 30 over 100. That's another way to see this. Or x times 30 hundredths. Well, as I say it that way, you might be able to see that I can rewrite 30 hundredths like this. Watch this, 30 hundredths. I can actually break that away from the x because it was being multiplied. 30 hundredths we could write as 0.30. 30 hundredths times x can be written that way. Okay, so then all I have to do is divide to figure out what they multiplied by x, or what they multiplied by 0.30 to get 72. That's what we're trying to figure out here. Now, as I see I'm going to be dividing, I really don't need to write that last 0, and that'll save me just a little bit of work with my division. So 72 equals just 0.3 times x. Now, the opposite of multiplying by 0.3 is dividing by 0.3. And so that's what I'm going to do to get that variable by itself on that side. So these will cross out because they equal 1. And I have to work out some division there to figure out what x equals. Remember, top dog in the doghouse would mean 72 would be on the outside, and 0.3 would be on the inside. But remember, we can't divide by a decimal, so I'm going to move that one time, which moves this place value 1 time. Technically, I'm multiplying that by 10 to get rid of that decimal. So that means I'm going to add a 0 in here, and outside I can just write 3 instead of 0.3. Now, 3 goes into 7 twice. That gives me 6. When I subtract, I have 1 left over. Bring down the 2. 3 goes into 12 4 times, exactly. But I'm not done because I still have another 0 here. So I'm going to bring down that 0. And I know 3 goes into 0 0 times. And now I'm done. I have no other digits, and I don't need to put another decimal because I have no remainder here. And so that means right here I get 240. Now, what does that mean to the problem? So they were asking an actual question, and this is our what part. So this what percent is what we're filling in with our answer. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to write 72, copying it down. 72 is what percent? Well, we figured it out. It's 240% of 30. Now, that might seem like a weird number, but if you think about it, well, yeah, 72 is a lot bigger than 30, and so it makes sense that this would be over 100%. It's 240% of 30. It's a whole lot more. All right, let's try that same thing on number 6. 13 is what percent of 40? So 13 is means equals what percent? What percent? So we'll put that over 100 of 40. Of 40. There we go. Of means multiply, right? All right, so now we can work that out the same way we just did. Instead of writing 40 hundredths, I'm going to write that 13 is equal, copy that down, 13 is equal to 40 hundredths. Well, I could write 0.40 as 40 hundredths, or I could just write 0.4 as 4 tenths. All right, and then we multiplied that by x. Okay, hopefully you're seeing where I got the 0.4. It's from right there. All right, so now to get x by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 0.4. And just like last time, there's division by a decimal, so I'm going to move it. All right, so there's the work I need to do. 130 divided by 4. And I know that these matching ones will cancel out. So whatever I have left will be equal to x. All right, so let's work that out to the side. 130 divided by 4. 4 can't go into 1, so 4 into 13 goes 3 times. Gives me 12. I have 1 left over, bring down the 0. 4 goes into 10 2 times, that gives me 8. I have 2 left over, but I have no more digits. So remember, decimal, bring it up, 0, bring it down. Now 4 into 20 would go 5 times exactly, and now I have nothing left over. So that means my answer right here is 32.5. Okay, but I did have a question they were asking. 13 is what percent of 40? So right here, we finished that statement. 13 is, and then our answer, 32.5% of 40. So that would be a total answer there. 13 is 32.5% of 40. All right, let's try another one together. Let's look at number 7. Number 7 says 30% of what number is 42? 30% of, so 30%, remember when they give us the percent, we're going to go ahead and write it like a decimal. So 0.3 or 0.30, I'm going to keep it at 0.3 to keep it simple, but remember that 0 could be written there. I just don't really need it. 30% of means multiply. What number means x is equals 42. All right, so this one already skipped right to that part for me. 0.3 times x equals 42. 0.3 times something. And so to figure out the something, we're going to divide. So I'm going to divide this side by 0.3 and that side by 0.3. Those eliminate, so I have x equals. And right here, can't divide by a decimal, so I move it, move it. All right, so we're really going to be dividing 420 by 3. 3 goes into 4 once, that gives me 3. 1 left over, bring down the 2. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Gives me exactly 12. Nothing left, but I do have this other 0 here, so I need a 0 there. So that means x equals 140. Well, what was that x representing? Well, here it was a number. So we would finish that statement, 30% of, what number did we get? 140 is 42. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just taking the statement from the question. All right, I'm going to see, let's see, I think let's look at just one more. One more. You can do one more, right? Yeah. All right, let's try this one. What percent? Because this one's kind of weird. What percent? What percent? So x over 100 of 8 times 8 is equals 10. Okay, there it is. Translated to math. Let's see if we can do this one a little bit faster. Let's see. 8 hundredths. So that would be 0.08. Right? 0.08 x equals 10. I'm going to divide both sides because that's the opposite of multiplying. So we can check this here. I know those will cross out and I get x equals. And there's the division I have to do. All right, now I have to move this twice. Move it, move it, move it, move it. So what we're really going to be doing here is 1,000 divided by 8. So let's work that one out. 1,000 divided by 8. Let's see what we get. All right, I know 8 goes into 10. 1 time gives me 8. I have 2 left over. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 20. 2 times gives me 16. I have 4 left over. Bring down the 0. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. And that's exact. That was nice. So we don't have any little remainders there. And our answer is 125. Well, what was that answer standing in for? That was standing in for the percent. So instead of percent, what percent? We're going to write 125% of 8 is 10. And that makes sense. What percent of 8 is 10? Well, that's a bigger number than 8, so it makes sense that it's going to be more than 100%. All right, so I'm giving you a couple tricky ones to try. I want you to try number 9 and 10 on your own. Please circle those, please highlight those, and raise your hand when you think you've got them. I will help you through it if you absolutely need it. Otherwise, do your best. Bye-bye.